Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you again for joining us and taking time out of your very busy schedules to see this wonderful video of engaging and summarization of reading the Bible in a year. Thank you so much, and welcome back to the 365 Days with Jesus. Remember, we are reading the Bible in a sequential order, and we're trying to read it in a year. We're ready in the wonderful book of Ruth, and we're really going to wrap it up today because the book of Ruth is very short, but it is very impactful and powerful. So the book of Ruth only has 4 chapters, and today we're going to do these 4 chapters, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll be a wrap after today with the book of Ruth. Nevertheless, I'll do my best to make it as powerful and impacting just as it was for me. I love reading the book of Ruth. It's one of my favorite books of the Bible, and it has a great protagonist, a woman. And as a woman, I'm very happy to see that even God chose women to be leaders, to be his missionaries, and to be or to mark the difference in this world for each and every one of us. So I'm very excited to begin the book of Ruth. So the book of Ruth starts with chapter 1, and it's the Amplified Bible Commentary summarizes it, the first verses 1 through 13, as Naomi widowed. So it kind of starts out a little sad. So there's a lady named Naomi. She was married with this man named Elimelech, and they had 2 sons that were named Mahlon and Chilion. These they were from the city of Bethlehem in Judah, right, which is part of the country of Israel, right? Bethlehem, the famous city. And they had moved to Moab, right? They went to live temporarily there. I'm not sure why. It doesn't say exactly why. Maybe it was for some financial gains. I'm not sure. But they moved there as a family of 4. Throughout the years, they were in the land of Moab. I remember the Moabites are actually close relatives to Israel, because Moab is the incestuous son of Lot. Remember, because Lot's daughters abused him, right? They made him drunk, and they had sexual relations with him, and Moab became a product, and all the people after Moab and his generations were known as the Moabites. They're very notoriously famous because they were famous for their children and sacrifices to their pagan gods, and also their pagan worship as well, and the different rituals that came of that. So Elimelech, Naomi, and their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, they married 2 Moabite women, right? So one of them was Orpah, so that was one of the daughter-in-laws of Naomi, and the second, but the most famous one, was Ruth. So 10 years before that, Naomi's husband died, so she was a widow. But thankfully, she still had her 2 sons, and they were able to marry these 2 Moabitess women. However, after they were married, sometime after, Naomi's sons died, so now she's a widow. But now she's also a mom who lost her only children. So she starts planning to go back to Bethlehem because she's like, I have nothing here in Moab. I want to go back to my roots and, go home. What do I have left here? I have just a lot of tragedy. She was very depressed and very sad. So she starts, to depart from her daughter-in-laws, but Orpah and Ruth like, no, we want to go with you. But Naomi's like, no, don't go with me, because look, God has inflicted this great sadness in me. I need to go back to my land, and now you guys have to stay in your land, to your customs, to your families. She's like, I don't have any other children to give you husbands, because since they were left all widows and they didn't have children with Naomi's sons, back then in biblical times, to continue the generation was a very important duty. So she's like, just go back to your people, find yourself another, maybe a life partner, another husband, but don't go with me, because I'm just by myself. I don't have anything to offer you guys, not even riches or property or other sons to marry, so you guys can get married with them. But Orpah and Naomi insisted, and then finally Naomi was like, don't, just go back to your family. So Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, which says in verse 14. However, Ruth, it says in the King James Version 1960, it says that Ruth clave to her in verse 14, and the Amplified Version says clung to her. And Naomi's like, but look, your sister-in-law, verse 15, has gone back to her people, to her gods. Why you don't go back? But Ruth said, do not urge me to leave you or turn back from following you. For you go, I will go. And where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I'll be buried. May the Lord do the same to me, as he has done to you, and more also, if anything but death separates me from you. That was so beautiful. Such precious purity and loyalty, which is like, you're my mother-in-law. Like, we have this sacred relationship. Yes, we lost our husbands, but we still have something that united us, this loss. And I am willing to still go with you, and I want your God to be your God, my God. And I want to be with you. Like, I think over the years, Ruth learned about God, and she also fell in love with God. And it's like, no, I'm not ready to let that go. I'd rather leave what I already know to go what I don't know, because I want to still be with this person that has influenced my life so much. And also because God, it's where I want to go, because I know God will be with me. So it's really nice. That was very genuine, and just, I think it was also very honorable of Ruth to do that. As like, oh my gosh, like, my mother-in-law's alone. Like, I have my family, but at least we'll have each other. Whatever her other thoughts were, it was so beautiful. Such a nice, genuine act of service. So they go back to Bethlehem, and everyone's like asking, oh, is this Naomi? Isn't she Elimelech's wife? Why is she back? And then Naomi says, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because it means I'm bitter, and the Almighty has caused me great grief and bitterness. I left with a husband, 2 sons, and now I come back empty. But Naomi returned to Bethlehem, and she stayed where her daughter-in-law Ruth, they were living together. And then the barley harvest will begin. So now we're going to go to Ruth 2. We're going to go to Ruth 2. And now Ruth 2 is summarized as simply, Ruth gleans on Boaz's field. So it is the barley harvest. And back then in the Amplified Bible commentary, it mentions that gleaning means was a right granted to the poor and to strangers by God. A kind of divinely appointed welfare system. So it sounds like a hierarchy. Farmers were instructed to not glean their fields or vineyards, that is, to not collect the excess or the extra stalks of grain or grapes left over by the reapers, and not to have the extremities of their fields reap. And you can find this in Leviticus chapter 19, verses 9 through 10. So Ruth starts gleaning in Boaz's field, and Boaz asks his servants, like, hey, who's this new lady who's gleaning in the fields? And they say, oh, you don't know her? That's Ruth. She's Naomi's daughter-in-law, but Naomi came back, husbandless, childless, so they're both widows. And Boaz is like, wait, she left her own country of Moab? And they're like, yeah, she left her country. And she's like, and she stayed with her mother-in-law? They're like, yeah. So Boaz took an interest in Ruth, and he's like, Ruth, stay and glean in my fields. I'm going to make sure no one bothers you. Stay with my maidservants, and they'll take good care of you, and do what you have to do in the fields, and, go home to Naomi and bring her what you gleaned from the barley. And she's like, wow, like, why have you taken such kindness with me? She's like, just thank you so much. I am forever grateful. I'm summarizing it. And he's like, they told me what you did for your mother-in-law to come here to a country that is foreign, to a God that is still foreign to you. And you chose that, like, loyalty, that honorary act of service, and not stay home with the family and the life, He's like, that I can never... He's like, I can't even, like, grasp that. He's like, I wish I can aspire to that. He was just so amazed and impressed. So, when Naomi gets home, when Ruth gets home, Naomi asks Ruth, oh, where did you glean today? She's like, oh, I gleaned in the field of Boaz. And she's like, wait a minute. Boaz is my, like, a relative. They're actually blood related through Elimelech. So Elimelech is, like, his, you could say, like, an uncle, like, some paternal or, like, some male relative to Boaz. She's like, hey. So now Naomi starts having a plan, like, wait a minute. So Boaz and Ruth can be married because he's the next of kin, or the next in line to be able to marry Ruth, because, Ruth is a widow and he's Elimelech's a relative. So let's see. So Ruth 3, Naomi tells Ruth her plan. Okay, you're going to go see Boaz. It's going to be around nighttime. He's probably wrapping up from all the, gleaning and from the fields and from the farming. She's like, what you're going to do is make sure after he has his dinner, he's relaxed, he's going to go to sleep. You're going to just stay there and be by his feet. it says, let's anoint yourself, let's dress you up nicely, kind of like a date, you could say, and a holy date though. And then Naomi tells Ruth, do not reveal yourself until everyone has gone, like make sure it's just you two. In verse 4, Naomi says, when he lays down, notice the place where he's lying, right? Like take a measure and go and uncover his feet and lie down. So it says in the Amplified Bible commentary, says by uncovering his feet, by her action, Ruth was expressing her desire and willingness to marry Boaz. All right. So then he asks her once he's like, after he has dinner, and notices her, oh, who are you? She's like, oh, I'm Ruth, your maid, the one I've been gleaning in your fields. He's like, oh my, like, God bless you. He's like, you've been so kind. And he's like, it is true. I am your, she does say, she acts like, I heard you're the next of kin for Naomi. He's like, that is true. I am a close relative and I could be a possible redeemer for you. So redeemer is to continue the lineage of Ruth's, her husband who passed away. But he's like, however, there's someone even closer to kin of Naomi. He's like, we're going to have to ask him first because he's the next in line, not me. I'm the second runner up. So she's like, okay. So they, literally just slept together. No sexual relations. They were literally just sleeping together. And he tells her in verse 15, give me your shawl you're wearing, hold it out. Ruth did it. And it shows with that act. And then shows that humble service of that act of Ruth. So Ruth held it and measured out 6 measures of barley. So that was part of the shawl to wrap it up, the barley, and placed it on her. She went into the city. When she came home, Naomi asked, how did it go, my daughter? And Ruth told her everything that the man had done for her. He said, he gave me even these 6 measures of barley. He said to me, do not go back to Naomi empty-handed. Naomi said, sit and wait, my daughter, until you learn how this matter turns out. For the man will not rest until he has settled it today. Now, Ruth 4 is the big, nice, happy ending. So, Boaz talks to the next of kin. We don't know his name. He's like, hey, next of kin, there is someone who needs you to marry her, but you also have to buy a parcel of the land of Naomi. He's like, I'll buy the land. He's like, yeah, but you also have to marry, her widowed daughter-in-law. And he's like, oh no, because he's like, this might affect my own inheritance from my family. He's like, no, you can do it if you want. Like, I know you're next, you can do it. And Boaz is more than happy. It seems like they love each other and they chose each other. So Boaz tells Ruth the good news and they got married. And Boaz announces it to the land of Israel. Look at this beautiful, woman and this Moabitess, look what she gave up for to be with her mother-in-law. That act of honorability, as all you guys will be my witness that I'm not doing this unlawfully. The other next of kin gave it up, and they were just happy. The whole people of Israel's like, yay, finally some happy news after all that blood and gory wars that they had. He's like, yes, you guys, God bless you. And yeah, they in a way lived happily ever after. And now at the end of the story, it talks about the line of King David. There's a king coming up, King David, and Ruth is his great grandma, because Obed is her son from Boaz. So Boaz and Ruth had a baby named Obed, and that son is the grandfather of David. And we're going to see a next royalty person coming up soon. And tomorrow's book, we start with the first book of Samuel. Stay tuned, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.